Okay, fantastic. We are back. Mentioned about the talk between Governor Duval and Miccosukee Seminole Chief Tecosia John Hicks. I first found it reading on the microfilm of the Indian Affairs paper, and here's a photocopy of it. Indian Affairs microfilm roll has about 1,000 pages on it, and this was buried on there. I've never seen this published anywhere, so I said, "Gosh, that's neat." Because I'm looking for primary source information, eyewitness accounts. That's as close as we're going to get to the voices of the people of the past. And so, actually seeing letters written to see what Chief John Hicks said was really exciting. So I looked in the territorial papers and found the kind of letters by Governor Duval that were similar, but not what Chief John Hicks said. This territorial papers from 1824, 1828, but it had one of the letters, it had two paragraphs and a footnote. So, oh, wow, where I find that. And in the footnote, it said that it is from the American State Papers, Indian Affairs, Volume 2, page 688 to 691. So we're kind of on the second half of that section from the Indian Affairs, where we have some go for back and forth between Governor Duval. And it kind of explains in here what's going on, that they want to extend the Indian boundary, that the Indians and the white settlers keep raiding each other. It's important to know that in 1825, there was a very hard freeze that killed all the crops, and then it was a drought so severe that it killed all the anything that was growing. So everybody was starving. And the Indians, to get food, they're raiding the settlers' cattle, and the settlers were raiding the Indians and taking their hogs and livestock as well. So it was back and forth. And at the same time, you had the plantation owners wanting the runaway slaves. Um, and they're actually going back to the time where their slaves ran away during Spanish colonial period before 1800 from one of the accounts that I saw. And the Indian Affairs paper are just full of incidents of the slaves running away and joining the Indians. So it was a big contention on the ruling plantation class in the South. So, Governor Duval, copy of the talks delivered to the Seminole Nation by His Excellency William P. Duval, Governor of Florida and Superintendent of Indian Affairs at the time. Says, Chief warriors and brothers of the Seminole Nation, listen to the talk sent to me by your great father, the President of the United States. That's John Quincy Adams at the time, with the order to deliver the same which he writes on this paper. How is it, my red children, that the may if you act wrong are very bad, and you kill hogs and cattle of the white people, you take their potatoes and corn and burn their houses? Do you not expect such bad actions will occasion war? Beware in time of your danger, for if you sit still and let the bad people continue such conduct, mighty evils will soon fall on the whole of your nation. So, of course, he starts out with a patronizing view, calls them children, and then threatens them by sending down the army to take care of them, like what happened 10 years earlier with General Andrew Jackson. It's to know at this point that Andrew Jackson is not involved. He will later on when he becomes president. I've sent governors to give you a talk to finish running your boundary line. Your governor, he's talking about John Hicks, told me you had not good enough land to raise corn. I ordered him to run a line so to take Big Hammock, which shall be in your land. No white people will settle it. You'll remain in the big swamp this year, but move to in the fall to Big Hammock as you think proper. Big swamp and Big Hammock. And let me pull this up here on the. Let's see if I can share the. Oh, I guess that. Oh. Sorry about this. Have to find the right folder. Okay, share. I'm just learning this. Okay, this area said, you know, here's the big hammock. North of that's the big swamp. He says, okay, we'll include the big hammock. You have to move out of the big swamp. And a lot of people get confused between big hammock and big swamp. Even the Muskogee name is similar. He said, listen to your great father, my red children. You have good hunting ground to the south. The deer are smaller, yes, it's true, but you'll find them more numerous. Don't go into the white settlements and hunt without a paper from the agent. So, in order for the Indians to leave the reservation, they are required to have a pass signed by the Indian agent. When I hear cows and hogs are killed and other mischief done to the white people, I ask who did it, and my people all say it is the Miccosukee tribe. Chief and warriors, how is this? What has become of your laws? And so he's basically telling them that they better get their act together and uh, put everyone in line. If anyone gets out of line and raids the white settlements, then they need to punish the offenders. The law of all nations, white and red, if you do not enforce it, your nation must soon pass away. If the red men shall go into the white settlement without a paper from the big agent, or in his absence, the little agent, there's a Indian agent and a sub-agent, that's what he means. But a bad nation I'll crush in the hollow of my hand. The great father is angry at the bad men of your nation and requires you to punish them. And now come to end all the bad doings, and or you'll lose your land. Hearken to my words. If you do not compel the bad men to submit to the law, remember it falls upon all, the good and bad and alike. So that's a threat to the nation. Chief warriors and headmen, hear my words. I I order you to give up the bad men, and now the future conduct speak to show whether you are worthy of friendship or if you want my wrath. Children, make fields and raise corn and provisions. I have for a long time given you much to eat. Now I give you corn and salt at Tampa Bay until the next crop is fit to eat. I'll give no more after that time. Those who are lazy will not raise corn and may starve. Forget not my words in time, plant your cords and work your fields as well. So they're trying to force the Indians into agrarian society. Uh, Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Hawkins' philosophy. And if your bad men are not kept under, the annuity will be taken from you to pay the white people for the damage they have done. According to the Treaty of Moultrie Creek, they're also paid an annuity for 20 years, and that would be from 1823. But if you look at the federal budget, it's not supposed to be in the budget past 1835. So the government was planning on removal and didn't authorize funding in the budget to pay the annuity after 1835. Just a little side note I thought you'd find it interesting. Governor Duval continues. He says, I give no corn to my white children. They're obliged to raise their own. I've been kinder to you to them. You know, it's kind of a switchback, trade back, said, you know, I'm good to you guys. I give you corn. I don't even give that to the settlers. Look at your agent, mind his talks. He has given you good advice. Have his words sink deep in your hearts. It would not now be in this difficulty had your people have stopped their ears and not listened to the agent and now see the consequence. Let's go on down. My children, I have ordered your agent to come with me to Washington City to tell me in his own tongue whether you'll be good, what you have done with this talk. So send him your talk and let the governor write it down. So this is the president talking, said, I've ordered the Indian agent to come to Washington and kind of tell me what's going on. And here comes another sticking point. Chief and warriors, you hold Negroes in your nation that belong to the white people. By treaty, you are bound to deliver all your Negroes that do not belong to the Indians to the agent. This you have not done, although you promised in your talks to do so. You are now called upon to fulfill the treaty. If you have no mind what the Negroes say, that they lie and lead you astray in hope to escape their rightful owners, that you'll give them refuge and hide them. Do your duty and give them up. They care nothing for you further than to make use of you to keep out of the hands of the masters. So they're saying the escaped slaves are just manipulating you for their own good. He says that you're just better off without them. Thus far, the Negroes have made you their tools and gained a protection contrary to both justice and the treaty. At the same time, laugh at you for being deceived by them. Your conduct in this manner has caused to loud, constant, and just complaint on the part of the white people who are deprived of their slaves. Deliver up, rid your nation of a serious pest, and do what, as an honest man, you should not hesitate to do. Then your white brother will say you have done them justice like honest, good men. So he's saying, turning these slaves over as slave catcher is the right thing to do. That's pretty screwed up logic, don't you think? Should you, however, refuse to act in justice, I'll order my soldiers to go over your country and search every part of it and seize all the runaway slaves by force. In this confusion, many of you may lose your own slaves. If this happens, the fault will be yours in trying to keep what must not belong to you, and you have no right to complain. There must be no longer delay in business, but you must proceed immediately to deliver to the agent all slaves and other property now in your nation belonging to the white people, or expect immediate chastisement to follow your neglect. For I'll order my soldiers from Tampa Bay to scour the country and drag away the runaways from their hiding place and make your nation to suffer for its neglect in violation of the treaty. Of course, there's only a few company of soldiers that the Indians vastly outnumber them, but Governor Duval's not saying that. Okay, so here's the reply from Colonel Hicks, or that's Miccosukee, John Hicks, Chief of the Seminole Nation, to His Excellency William Duval, Governor of Florida. And let's go back. Okay, let's go back to John Hicks. One of the most beautiful of the McKay Hall paintings, Miccosukee, or John Hicks, is a full body portrait showing all his clothing. And this letter from Hicks is dated February 24th, 1826. I have listened to your talk. Your words have sunk deep into your heart. I met you first at the treaty at St. Augustine. The talk you gave me I did not forget and have acted by it. The words I have always kept. And you have told me that when our people moved from the old towns to where we now live, we should not suffer and we should receive provisions to live upon for 1 year until we could make a crop. The promise gave us comfort and encouragement and has been fulfilled. We have had the provisions, but as we had no corn the last year, owing to the dry weather, we have been very hungry since you stopped giving us provisions, and we are afraid that we must suffer much, each before our next crop could come in. Our minds are now easy since you tell us you intend to give us corn a little longer. I have nothing to say now, but wish to talk again tomorrow. And so the following day, on February 25th, Chief Hicks speaks again. We have thought upon what you told us yesterday. Your talk is right. We'll keep it in mind. We know that some of our people have acted bad and done mischief to the white people's property. We have talked to them about it from our agent who told us that would bring trouble upon us if we did not give them the law and keep them from doing mischief. I've given them this talks, but they shut their ears and would not believe me. We are now determined to enforce our law, and these bad men will not hearken to reason, shall be made to feel our law. And then we think we shall live like friends and brothers of our white neighbors. There are bad men among all people, the white as well as the red. Some of your people have had cattle and hogs, or I'm sorry, back up here. This small print. Some of our people have had cattle and hogs killed by whites, and we hope justice will be done with them, and that you will keep the bad white men from doing us any mischief. So Chief Hicks says, that's all fair. We'll punish the offenders, but, you guys need to step up and obey the law too, and keep only fair that the white men who have taken our cattle and hogs, that those be taken care of as well. You tell us you've come to run the line, and we wish to wait until some of our headmen can go to Washington to see our agent to see the Great Father, who we think will give more land, and then we shall be satisfied. And here's him using what Chief Hicks says. It's not our fault that the nation is poor and has lost its land. We think it was the Spaniards who wronged us and sold our lands. Of course, they took our lands and gave it to the Americans. All our old men are gone now. None are left. I'm young, yet I still must go to the Great Father and attend to the affairs of the nation. Our people have behaved bad, we intend to correct, and have appointed officers this day to give them the law, to make them known that place, so that I hope they will give the white people no more trouble. We heard what you said about the runaway Negroes in our country. We will not keep them, but bring them to the agent that they may be given to their owners. In 15 days from today, we'll bring in all that we can find. The white people have got some of our Negroes, which we expect that they will be given up to us. We're all the children of one great Father, and he'll treat all his children alike. And so that's a good point. Chief Hicks is saying, okay, it's only fair that everybody's treated the same. And that was really the big problem. He said, you want the runaway slaves that are among us, but the white people came down and took some of our slaves, or our black people, and we want them back. So, there's really has to be the same treatment. Okay, Governor Duval, I'll go back to him, says, answers back. He says, whenever the property belonging to the Indians can be found with the white people, they'll be made to give them up. It didn't really happen, sorry. For the white and the red men must be treated with the same justice. This shall be attended to. As you wish to go up to see your white father, your agent, you shall, and I'll delay running the line until you come back, as perhaps he may give you more land. I am going with your agent to look for at your country, and if I find that you have not enough good land, I'll request your great father give you more, and when I come back from examining the country, I'll appoint a day for you to start your journey to Washington. The white people have, some of them, made many complaints and said that many bad things about your agent, that he does not try to keep the Indian in so order and from doing them mischief. I wish to know the truth of this matter, and your agent wishes me to ask whether he has urged the red people away from the white settlements and stay within their own limits. I want you to tell me what his talks have been on the subject. And so Chief Hicks replies back, says, I've heard before the whites were talking evil of our friend, but it's not all of them that do it. There's only a few bad ones among them that do not like him and wish him evil because he is our friend and wishes to see justice done. We have some bad men among us who speak crooked words because I tried to make them obey the talks of the agent, which I know to be straight. They're, they are like the talks we have had from you. Your talks and his are alike, and my people shall listen to them and mind them. And Governor Duval, I can get back to Duval, responded, I'm glad to hear what you say about the talks which your agent has given you. I know that he has given you straight talks. I am pleased to hear that you are determined to follow him. He has always been your friend and he's done much for you. If you wish for him to stay, you must mind that what he says to you. Should you neglect or disregard his advice, I am afraid he'll be displeased and discouraged with you, and you will lose him. And Chief Hicks replies, we know our agent has been our great friend. You told us he would be so. We cannot wish him to leave us. I think that if we should lose him, it'll be to me the same that as to lose myself. We will mind his talks and the talks you gave us and try to make him stay with us. We hope that when we come back from seeing our great father, everything will be settled and then all will go straight in our nation. I have done. I am done. I certify the talks are true, received, and recorded as delivered by the interpreter to me from Governor Duval. And so that was the end of the talks at that point. Continued on. Andrew Jackson became president, and then he pushed for another treaty, a removal treaty this time, with the Indian Removal Act. In 1832, the Indians met at the Treaty of Payne's Landing, and there's a lot of misrepresentation and shady deals that went on at that point. Some people claim that the interpreters were bribed to tell the Seminoles what they wanted to hear. And there's whole days where the proceeding of the treaty are not recorded. And so the treaty was sent up to the Senate, which waited another year or so at least until approving the treaty to go through Congress. At the meantime, Chief John Hicks died. It appears that he died of cancer, from what I read. It said consumption, one of the Indian agent's letters. And so then they took some of the other head chiefs, about 6 or 7 chiefs out west, to show them the Indian Territory where the government wanted to move them. And they didn't like it too much. They had their horses stolen. They went in the middle of winter and saw that it snowed. It got pretty cold in the winter. And then the Indian agent at the time, John Fagan, who replaced Gad Humphreys, Fagan forced them into a treaty while at Fort Gibson. It said he got them drunk and coerced them, told them that if they didn't sign, then they won't be given a ride home. When the chiefs get home, they tell their people, well, they coerced us into it, so it's not a valid treaty. Plus, what the previous treaty said, that we're only going to look at the territory, and then when we come back, we'll hold council with the nation and decide what to do. And eventually, that treaty was determined null and void by the Supreme Court and by the Senate because it's obtained under fraudulent circumstances. But it didn't stop the removal and didn't stop the coming of the Seminole War. So thank you for suffering through my talk about the history of the Seminole, or before the Seminole War that led up to it, at a time there's not much information from. Let me know if you want more information or more talks like this. Thank you.